Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy of all sorts, from movies to books to video games, and applying the characters within into the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Today, though, we're going to be looking at a core mechanic of D&D itself. Specifically, we're going to be looking at a fighter subclass known as the Eldritch Knight. The Eldritch Knight is a fan favorite amongst D&D players, as it takes the super power of the fighter class as it stands, giving us all the armor and weapon that we need in order to stand toe-to-toe with the enemies of D&D, and adding in spell casting and magic to the subclass. Mechanically, how does this stack up? Let's have a look. So the first thing you get when you choose Eldritch Knight is your spell casting. You get a couple cantrips right off the bat from the wizard list. You'll get another one at higher levels. And you get to know spells from the wizard list. The primary levels of spells are from the evocation and abjuration schools. These are attack spells and defense spells. Things like shield, scorching ray, burning hands, things like that. Now, what I will say is that these are very handy in damage dealing effects. You also do get a couple that are outside of those schools. The Find Familiar one is a very popular one to take here, since fighters with a familiar getting advantage on their attacks is very handy pretty much all the time. You get to know your spells at 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level spell casting. 4th level coming on way down the line at level 19. And you get less spells known than a wizard, obviously, at these sort of levels. You start off with 3, you get some new ones every few levels, ending with 13 at level 20. So you get a decent selection here. The spellcasting modifier for this is intelligence, which is not normally what a fighter would take, but considering that you'll be using your magic to enhance your defense, it's reasonable to say that you could potentially let your constitution go a little bit and just swap it out for intelligence, but that's down to your personal preference. In any case, spellcasting is one of the most powerful abilities in the game, and having spells at any level is good. There's a whole feat, Magic Initiate, that's built around that. This is just that, but a way better. So I give this a 10 out of 10. Spellcasting is the reason we take Eldritch Knight. But also at level 3, they get a power called Weapon Bond, which creates a ritual between you and a weapon. You create this during a short rest, and then it remains bonded to you. You cannot be disarmed unless you're incapacitated, and if the weapon is on the same plane of existence, you can use a bonus action to just teleport it right to your hand, no matter where you are. This can be really handy if you end up knocked unconscious and having your weapons taken away from you, or if you have to give your weapon up to enter a location, you can just summon it back to you, which is nice. It's cool. I give it an 8 out of 10 as far as powers go. Then comes the War Magic power, level 7. War Magic means that when you use your action to cast a cantrip, which a lot of Eldritch Knights will do for distance or melee spells, they then get to make a weapon attack as a bonus action. This kind of builds on the idea that at this level they would have extra attack, so they'd be able to attack twice when they use their weapon attack. But with this, you can cast a cantrip and hit with your weapon at the same time. And it doesn't specify melee either, so you could do this as a dexterity-based fighter, casting spells and firing arrows or crossbow bolts at a distance, and just being a ranged person that is hitting with both magic and weapons. So, not bad. 8 out of 10. Then, at level 10, you get Eldritch Strike. This means that you basically get the ability to, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, they then have a disadvantage on the next saving throw against your spell. So if your spell is one that is an area of effect spell that would cause them to make a saving throw, hitting them with a weapon attack means that you will weaken them against that spell, which is okay. Really handy against bosses. If you're fighting a boss monster and you hit it with your weapon, you can then cast a spell on it the next turn, and it will struggle to make its save. So handy in a lot of situations. I give it 8 out of 10 again. Then comes the Arcane Charge ability. Basically, every time you use Action Surge, which allows you to take 2 actions per turn, and you can use this a couple times per rest, you'll get to teleport 30 feet. You can do this before or after the additional action, so you can teleport after the action surge or before it, but 30-foot teleport is nice, especially if you have to jump around the battlefield and hit multiple enemies. The teleportation just increases your maneuverability, and you could even use action surge to teleport if you need to teleport for mechanical reasons, such as jumping outside of a force cage or a wall of force or something like that. Very helpful, 9 out of 10 for sure. And then finally, at level 18, you get improved War Magic. Similar to how at level 7, when you cast a cantrip, you can use a weapon attack. This one just lets you use a weapon attack when you cast any spell. So you can use your leveled spells and then attack with your weapons as well. Again, it doesn't specify melee. This can be melee, ranged, any weapon. So there's a lot of utility here, and I give improved War Magic another 8 out of 10. It doesn't... Most of the time, you'll be using your cantrips, your leveled spells are for special occasions and for, specific things. But, in any case, having those extra weapon attacks is never bad. So, 8 out of 10 there. And then when you crank all the numbers together, between the spellcasting and the Eldritch Strikes and the War Magic, the Eldritch Knight gets 9 out of 10. It is one of the best fighter subclasses. It adds in a brand new level of magic to a class that is super strong as it is. I mean, one of the downsides of the average fighter is that they don't have the opportunity for magic. Other frontline fighters like Rangers, Paladins, they all get magic, but the fighters and the barbarians struggle with that. Well, not this fighter. This fighter can use their magic, which enhances them in a million and one ways. And even with their limited schools, this adds to the fighter in every conceivable way that it could. It's powerful, it's unique, and it certainly is worthy of that 9 out of 10, in my opinion. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes open for more subclass reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.